Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin bubble news channel. As you know, institutional investors will not only buy it for their portfolios, but they will also treat it as a different asset class and move money away from bond-based investments. The sad truth is that most people are like sheep. When it comes to safety, they just want to follow the crowd. Not many of them are willing to risk being left out by doing something so different. We're almost at that opening now. It's open. Like with any other stock, it's easy for big companies to buy Bitcoin through an ETF. They can buy it from the same seller, settle the deal, and keep the item the same way. They are both protected by the same laws. Now, it's very easy for them. We're almost at that opening now. It's open. Like with any other stock, it's easy for big companies to buy Bitcoin through an ETF. They can buy it from the same seller, settle the deal, and keep the item the same way. They are both protected by the same laws. Now, it's very easy for them. Getting a gold ETF or a Bitcoin ETF doesn't really make a difference, but they can't edge the Bitcoin ETF, which is one difference. You just can't get them yet. Now you'll start to see the creative, forward-thinking, and financially forward-thinking groups that are ready to take a chance and ask, what is this we're going to add 1%, 0.25%, or 1% to the stock? That's known as dipping your toe in, but now that you own it, you have to decide what to do because it will be on your resume every day when you wake up. It will show up in your clothes, and you'll have to decide if you want it or not. For the reason that that isn't a full job. It's just a toe, you know. Do I really want to jump into this pool? There's more to come, and it will bother you until you decide whether to get rid of it or start buying it seriously. We're now at the point where we'll start hearing about more and more institutions that have taken a bite. They are taking a look. After they finish their work, they'll start putting more time into it. After that, institutional investors will not only buy it, but also treat it as a different asset class in their portfolios. They will move money away from riskier assets like bonds and into this one because they know it is a real store of value. Now I'm going to move the money I have set aside for long-term bonds. I seriously don't get why anyone would own 30-year treasuries to this stable store of value that I know will protect me from future massive money printing inflation. That needs to be one of my main points. Yes, that is the real adoption. That's where we're going. What I think they've been through is Bitcoin. Is this really dumb digital rock Ponzi scheme? And when you say Bitcoin, they laugh and think you might be serious. Yes. Do you think that still exists today? Do you think that's changing? If so, how do you know? Have you been through that? As more money flows into Bitcoin, that risk goes down. That it will stay unstable. But anyway, I have some personal cash that I'd like to share. I looked at it and thought, this is where I want to take a chance. What does this Bitcoin thing mean? I believe there is something there. So I did what you normally do. I asked my coworkers and the experts I saw on the street, like technology researchers, portfolio managers, and people who work for hedge funds. And they were all like, even if they said, I own a scrap, but that person got it years ago, it's not worth any, there's nothing there. I think it's just a Ponzi plan because it has no value on its own and is likely to go down to zero. That's not something I would do. Oh my God, thank you so much for telling me not to buy Bitcoin when it was about $3,000. You know, that was really helpful, but that's the way some people still think $60,000 for a pet rock. Why would you buy that? They also don't get it, which goes back to what you said in the beginning. They don't know. They don't. They look at it and think. This is the same as Dogecoin. I always wonder why someone doesn't just make a new and better Bitcoin. At first, my job was to teach people about it, and it gets old to say that most people are sheep. They only want to follow the crowd because it's safe. And not many of them are ready to risk being shunned by doing something so different that people ask, why are you doing that? You sell drugs, right? Do you know? So it's a risk to your own image. It's still taking time. But I really think the tide is changing. I know it's true because people from my old life are calling and texting me more and more. They are asking, what the heck is going on here? What exactly should I know? What should I know? If you want to talk about the real pandemic here, it's the failure to think critically. So we've lost a lot of people. I wouldn't say the youngest generation because they're just waking up, but there are a couple of groups that can't think critically. They do what they are told without question. The media's reach is also well known, and it is easy for them to just repeat what they are told. I think they're messages, right? After a while, that becomes a theme, and so on, and that theme is the story you hear, like, oh, the media story, oh, they're just giving you bits and pieces that make up the story. People, on the other hand, find it easy to connect the dots they're being given and repeat them. It sounds like that all the time. People who are smart say it, and I think they should just stop thinking seriously. They say, oh, that's too bad. Just tell me what I need to know, that's the problem then. As luck would have it, we now return to the fourth turning, where the money supply is in chaos and there is pain. I don't think that will happen though. It seems like every turn is a little different. Some people say that the World War is already over. It just looks different now than it did before. If you talk to people who used to work in intelligence, they'll say things like, look, we're fighting proxy wars all over the place right now. So when those shadow wars turn into real ones, you have chaos at home. But the US is currently fighting a number of proxy fights. Okay, why does that matter then? It's important because of the uncertainty in geopolitics. So, my worry is that this chicken comes home to roost and we're in the dollar, the money supply, and how strong the dollar is. Because we are so leveraged right now, Joe, from the small, everyday customer all the way up to the sovereigns, we are completely strapped for cash. We can still make it stronger. As an example, I talk about the debt cycle and how we can't get out of the amount of debt we have now. There's no doubt about it, taking that back would be very painful. That could happen in two ways. You can either have a terrible event where the bond market doesn't move at all, either because people lose faith in it or because something suddenly happens in the markets that pulls out all the money. That's why nobody is buying anything. As a result, there is less money available, or a lot of buyers are unwilling to buy treasuries at the price the treasurer wants them to be bought at. They say, no, we need that interest rate to be a lot higher because this is yet to be proven. If you want that one, you could have it, which just means prints more money. You only have that, right? There is a drop that looks a lot like the ones we had in 2020, but it would probably be steeper and happen faster. Yes, and that would hurt a lot in the short run. Yes, the other painful thing would be, and that would be nearly impossible. You saw how hard things were at that time. From March 2020 to April 2020, what was that? It looks like the second thing you could do is just let massive inflation happen. Just massive and nominal GDP inflation, and to pay down debt, to pay down old debt. This is emerging market stuff where you don't have. I've been saying for a while now that I expect us to have a period of, they'll either admit or that we saw last cycle. It could be 12, 15, or 20%, or you could have this cycle, which is what Luke thinks we have now. It's like 50 to 100% inflation for a while, and then it all pays off. Okay. Will they allow that to happen? I don't think they want to, but it might be necessary because of how we spend money and fight these wars. I like how you asked, what do you think will happen to the dollar and the treasury if the United States has to print another 10, 20, or 30 trillion dollars? Okay, yes, that will wake people up, and it will all come back to the money supply being broken. It will hurt, and people will realize, I need another place to store my value. It seems like this answer is mostly about the US. There are many places and people around the world who are going through completely different things than Americans. For example, Egypt, Lebanon, Venezuela, and Argentina have had such huge amounts of inflation that the prices change every day, even when you're sitting down in a restaurant. There's no way for them to just say, I need to protect my money they're looking for. I need a place to put my money where it won't just disappear. How can I get my things out of my country if it becomes very unstable? Well, we've seen and talked to Bitcoin community friends who have left those places like Venezuela with only the clothes on their backs and the seed words for their wallet.